Indiana.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the call of the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, thank you. Well, I come down here frustrated and hopeful. I want to try to keep the glass half full, or see the glass half full, even though we've been through a frustrating number of days and months dealing with our debt crisis. And here we are, careening toward another crisis. We went through that earlier in the year. It's really not a good way to legislate. Maybe it's the only way. It seems like the only way we ultimately get things done around here is to take it right up to the edge and then come through with some kind of agreement. I don't think it's fair to the American people. It clearly isn't a formula for providing certainty in our economy for those who are running businesses, for households that are having to make tough decisions. If there's one word that characterizes where we have been this entire year, it's uncertainty. Uncertainty about what the future is going to look like. Are we going to default or are we not going to default? Do we have enough money to pay the bills or don't we have enough money to pay the bills? What are the consequences of the default, of a potential default? When we had the continuing resolutions to provide funding for the rest of the year, we went from one extension to another extension to another extension. Everything's in limbo. How can you run an economy? How can a businessman or woman make a decision if they don't know what's coming down the line in terms of taxes, in terms of regulations, in terms of the economic climate, in terms of whether people will be buying, selling, or just sitting on their money? And add to that, into the third year of a slowdown, a recession. Now, the economy's growing, but not growing at a rate that's putting people back to work. We all want to get that economy moving again. And inserting certainty into the process will certainly, no pun intended, be a positive step forward. Now, I think there's virtually unanimous consent that this government has grown too big, it spends too much, it doesn't have the revenues to pay for what it does, and there needs to be a real reform taking place, and taking place soon. We're 12 days away from August 2nd, the date that the Treasury Department has indicated we run out of money and don't have enough to pay our bills. Obligations that have been committed to, promised, can't be paid because we don't have the funds to do so on August 2nd. We have known this day is coming for a long, long time. In fact, we were originally told we run out of money in March, then for some reason it was moved to May, and then again moved to August. I don't know exactly how they're moving money around the Treasury to extend this particular date, but it appears that we now are at the end of the road. We're at the wall, and decisions have to be made. The question is, are we going to take the necessary steps, make the tough decisions, do what we need to do to control our spending, to put in place mechanisms that will ensure that we don't continue to do what's been done over the past several years, and put policies in place that will stimulate our economy and get people back to work. After all, it's really all about jobs. It's all about an economy that is providing opportunities for young people coming out of college and high school, opportunities for people to buy homes and raise their families and save money and send their kids to school, to keep a good paying job, to be able to pay the mortgage and all the bills that come to the household every month. That's really what it's all about. And unless we address these issues before us here fiscally, we're not going to get to the point where people have any sense or hope for the future. Now, I said I'm frustrated, and I guess I've just expressed some of that frustration, but I'm also hopeful. And I'm hopeful because in times of crisis, solutions can be found. We wish we could do it in a more systematic way. Wish we had done it in the past several months, but we didn't. So here we are. And now I think the focus is clearly on getting to a solution. And so we're debating a plan that has been put forward called Cut, Cap, and Balance. Cut because we're spending more money than we can afford to spend. cap because we want to put procedures in place not to spend more than we can afford in the future years out, and balance, a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution so that when members come here and put their left hand on a Bible and their right hand in the air and swear to uphold and support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and that Constitution says that you can't spend more than you take in, you need to balance your budget just like households and businesses all across America, and virtually all of our states have these either in statute or in amendment form. The federal government accepted. I don't believe we have the discipline, or that Congress has demonstrated the discipline necessary to run a fiscal house that is anywhere close to balance. Despite all the wonderful speeches, and we're going to cut this and do that and provide for this and provide that, we have just seen an explosion of debt and an explosion of spending, irregardless of what the revenues coming in happen to total. And so a constitutional balanced budget amendment will give us the spine and the backbone and the duty and responsibility to uphold the Constitution in that regard and achieve and make the tough choices, make the tough votes every year. This happens in our state every year. We somehow survive, and in fact, we're doing pretty darn well, because our legislators have to go before the people and say, that's a nice idea, we could go there, but we got to balance our budget. So now if you're willing, we could raise your taxes to pay for that if you want that extra program, or we can cut another program and substitute the money saved from that for this program, or folks, we just can't go there. We don't have the money. These are the choices that we have to make, and this is the responsibility that we have. Well, I said I'm hopeful. Why am I hopeful? I'm a baseball fan, a sports fan. I've seen so many basketball. I've seen so many sports situations where the announcers have said, or the spectators have observed, it's hopeless. There's no way they can come back. There's no way they can pull this out. But then I have seen miraculous comebacks in the fourth quarter of basketball games, maybe the last 2 minutes, in the bottom of the ninth, where you've just about written off any chance of victory at all, and all of a sudden you come from behind. So whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball, or whatever, we all have experienced those situations that give us hope, that even though the clock is ticking down as it is on this debt limit date, even though some are saying we're never going to get there, I'm hopeful that we can come forward with a sensible plan. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, the cut, cap, and balance is a plan that can get us to where we need to go. Clearly, we need first, and cut does this, we need first to address our spending issue, and then cap, so that we don't keep running into this year after year, and then balance so that we're committed to it for the long term. And in order to get there, this provision before us gives us the opportunity to do that, just that. The reforms that we need to address, not just cutting, but addressing the out-of-control, deficit-driving entitlement programs that need to be reformed in order to save those benefits and save those programs for the future, not take them away, and not watch it go into insolvency. All those need to be addressed, and I hope that they will be, and this is the plan that can get us there. So we'll be voting on this Now Learn tomorrow morning, and I'm just urging my colleagues to look at this in a serious way. There's been a lot of criticism of various plans that Republicans have put forward, and yet the president hasn't put anything forward. And my colleagues across the aisle, the Democrats, haven't put a budget forward or a plan forward. And so, yeah, we get criticism because they don't like this part of our plan or they don't like that part of our plan, and we're not saying our plan is perfect, but where's yours? We have nothing to measure it against. Democrats are in the majority in the United States Senate. Republicans are a minority party. But nothing has been brought forward here for us to debate, to vote on. There's no way we can stand here and say, well, here's our plan. What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? Or us to stand here and say, you to stand there and say, here's our plan. Let's work together to meld these two things together. Maybe we can find a compromise. No, nothing has been provided by the other side. And so, yes, we're here with cut, cap, and balance. And people have said, no, that's not the one. And people have said Gang of Six, no, that's not the one. And people have said other provisions that have been brought forward, no, that's not the one. Well, okay, fine. You don't like that? What is the one? What is the one that gets us there? So as we approach here the very end of all this, we have to understand the consequences of what we do are enormous. And doing what is right for the future of America and the future of the American people, the future of our generations to follow, is what ought to be driving us at this point toward reaching a rational, sensible solution to put us on the path to fiscal responsibility and get our financial house in order. And so just hours left before we have this vote. And if this vote doesn't pass, and many are predicting it won't, the President has said he will veto it if it does. I'm still hopeful that we can pull something out here in the bottom of the ninth. And if it doesn't pass, where do we go next? So we need leadership. We need leadership from the leader of our country to guide us as to where we need to go if they're going to just simply reject everything that we put forward. Let's be very careful how we evaluate our vote tomorrow and the implications that it has for the future of this country and the fact that the clock is ticking ever louder as we careen toward a serious crisis on August the 2nd. Mr. President, with that, I yield the floor. Mr. President, I suggest the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
I can go get, he'll be bringing you